Welcome to Factory Forward, the podcast that explores how technology, innovation, and leadership are reshaping the manufacturing landscape. Today, we're joined by a true visionary in smart manufacturing, Ehab Beshay. With over 20 years of experience driving Industry 4.0, automation, and digital transformation for global leaders like Honeywell, Harman, and Cognizant, Ehab has mastered the art of turning complex production challenges into scalable, future-proof solutions. In this episode, Ehab shares hard-earned lessons on bridging the gap between engineering and operations, driving IT convergence, and unlocking real ROI beyond just cost savings. From navigating cultural resistance to harnessing AI, machine learning, and even humanoid robotics on the factory floor, this conversation is packed with insights for anyone serious about leading digital transformation in 2025 and beyond. Whether you're an engineer, operations leader, or executive aiming to future-proof your manufacturing strategy, this is an episode you won't want to miss. Now, meet your host, Zishan Zia.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Factory Forward. Today I'm joined by Ehab Beshay, a smart manufacturing leader with over 2 decades of experience turning bold business ideas into production floor reality. Ehab has steered global Industry 4.0 and automation programs for major players like Harman, Honeywell, and now Cognizant, launching new products, digitizing factories, and squeezing inefficiencies out of complex production lines in industries including electronics, automotive, and aerospace and defense. With the resume that spans mechanical engineering and computer science, he's led everything from NPI and product industrialization to MES implementations and capital projects. If you're looking for hard-won lessons on scaling digital transformation without derailing daily operations, this episode is for you. Ehab, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Zishan. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Ehab, really excited to ask you these questions, and I'll jump straight in. Want to start out by asking you a little bit about your journey. What were the key decisions and moments that have helped shape your journey from engineering and product development roles to becoming a smart manufacturing leader at global companies like Honeywell and Cognizant?
It's not, I wouldn't say this is one decision or one moment that's kind of actually came over time. But to start is being on the engineering side and then the manufacturing side, when you actually look at the development cycle of a product and life cycle of a product in general. In the development, you need all the time to make sure the product on the development side, you have time to react and make the changes in the design. And you need to be agile. There's simulation tools that can be used and other things to speed up the process. What I saw actually on the manufacturing, there were opportunities, but also it's not taking advantage of at the time. So I wanted to make sure that get those simulation tools and everything that can be done on the manufacturing to help be more agile on the manufacturing side, to give more a chance of getting that speed to market agility. That was actually something very important. And there's so many opportunities in manufacturing to help productivity in general and getting that speed to market.
That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. Ehab, how has your background across operations, product engineering, and manufacturing influenced your leadership approach and driving these digital transformation across industries?
I think this actually being on the product side, on the engineering side, and actually being the link between the design and the product and the manufacturing helped me to understand both sides more and think actually from being in their shoes, I would say. So that can actually help me to drive with empathy first, because I understand the concern, the problems you run into both sides. But at the same time, actually knowing both sides can also help me to where I can push the envelope, where the opportunities are more. And I would say actually again that when I'm actually on the engineering side and working with engineering and the design side, I'm able to talk to the manufacturing because again, what the manufacturing issues, what you're gonna run into, and vice versa. When I'm actually working with the manufacturing teams and being in manufacturing, I can understand the engineering side and know what can and cannot be done and can provide some answers quickly. So that helped me again, just getting that connection between the two and helped me to actually connect the engineering and product side with the manufacturing easier. So it definitely did help over time. And it, again, I think that background was very helpful.
I appreciate that. I totally I can relate that empathy and understanding humans together with technology is absolutely crucial to driving digital transformation and you cannot just be a technical leader and influence these kinds of holistic transformation across industries and so really that really tracks with my experience as well. Ehab, what advice would you give to engineers and industrial professionals who aspire to lead large-scale smart manufacturing initiatives like yourself?
Good question. Uh, Perhaps actually, I wouldn't say the tech is the first thing to focus on because the tech actually is not everything. The tech is important. The tech portion is very important. However, I would say that it's really crucial to spend time to understand that full value chain and not just the technical part. How the operations, the supply chain, the finance connect together, and and help build that some of the communication skills so you can actually be able to explain and articulate actually those technical concepts and how is that going to help the business to improve so you can communicate better with the business side more. And I would say finally focus on the small wins, that actually quick value, where actually how can you deliver this early value quickly and build trust. That'll be crucial because from the business side, you need to show how this technical improvement or technical solutions can actually again help them quickly and gain that some of those trust very quickly. Uh, Basically, I would say you go to from a pilot champion to transformation leader. So that's how you build your way in.
Hmm, that makes sense. Um, Ihab, one term that we often hear these days is this IT OT convergence. In your experience, what are the most practical strategies for driving convergence between IT, OT, and indeed the business functions on the factory floor?
Yeah, we hear this everywhere. And I would say, in order to even have success, remote success, you have to, I would say, it's very crucial and important to have common goals.
Hmm.
So having the cross-functional teams between the OT side and the IT side, you cannot start just by IT just cannot focus on the security and it must be implemented this way. OT cannot just focus, hey, I want to get production going regardless of security or anything else. So I would say it's really crucial from leadership side to have shared KPIs and common goals to make sure that those cross-functional teams actually successful. Uh, I would say improving OEE, for example, or maybe reducing downtime, uh, and making sure actually having how can you get to that? This is the final goal you want to get to. How do you achieve it? There will be a security element, there will be software improvement element, there will be hardware improvement element, but at the same time also will be operation element that everybody needs to work together to find ways. And not everything has to be done one way. They have to work together to find what the best options given the circumstances. Uh, I would say again that alignment what makes convergence stick. So without that, it's just very difficult to say we can converge IT and OT.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. In addition to empathy, if you can quantify shared KPIs, I absolutely. I love that. That makes a ton of sense. Ehab, how do you help clients define and measure the true ROI of their smart manufacturing investments beyond just cost savings and operational efficiency? That's one that often comes up.
Uh, I would say actually it's important to just think of ROI in terms, again, it's not just productive. If you think of sustainable productivity, I would say agility, um, quality, and insight. So, for example, reducing changeover time, improving forecast accuracy, or enable predictive maintenance. Uh, we also, again, measure time to value scalability. The key is not actually, again, is connecting that tech outcome to the business drivers, whether it's margin improvement, throughput, or even sustainability in general. So how do you getting from, again, what is that business driver? What are the business goals? And how can you connect them to the technical side, the tech side? And as I mentioned again as well, as showing the quick wins. I keep actually mentioning that over and over, and making sure you build that trust. That's very crucial. But whether it's actually, again, reducing, if you have a capex plans, capex spend, capital project spending, and you have that planned already, you could consider that cost savings. But if you actually have that plan, and again, most manufacturers have this 3 to 5 years capital spend plan based on their forecasts, and you can start, again, focusing where you can get ROI. I can perhaps, again, if I improve productivity by this much, I will actually be able to reduce that, eliminate the need for that spend coming up in the next 3 years. Uh, in general, again, your margin improvement, your throughput improvement, your sustainability goals, any goals from the business, tie that to the technical side.
Okay. No, this is fantastic. That's really yeah, gives me a holistic picture of beyond costs and beyond the immediate operational efficiency. This is really valuable. Kind of the flip side of that coin, what misconceptions do companies often have when they first begin implementing these kinds of systems? These connected factory systems or end-to-end digital workflows. What are the misconceptions that you've heard from them?
I think the biggest misconception I would say that I see is the misunderstanding or the expectation that plug and play technical experience or the technical solution,
Yeah,
it will fix a broken process. Okay,
100%. Yeah.
so that's probably the biggest issue I see more than often. And sometimes also other things, transformation means replacing all legacy systems, and with that in mind, it just becomes a big hurdle that is not even possible to do. All right, so these are some of the misconceptions I see all the time, but in reality, it's about integration, and starting with an evolution, then move to a revolution.
Mm.
So smart manufacturing is not just an IT project, I would say. It's strategic change, and requires a lot of culture, alignment, and cross-functional ownership. And that's something every project, I would say, the most critical and most crucial element is making those culture alignment and making, again, stakeholders involved in the beginning.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I love that. To get to a revolution, start with an evolution, and the cultural alignment piece. Fantastic. Ehab, what with your experience in leading these digital transformation efforts across sectors, how important is system interoperability? You talked a little bit about integrations, and what role do open standards play in achieving this interoperability?
It's foundational. It's without interoperability, you create data silos
Mm,
and lose that very agility that digital transformation promises. Open standards like OPC-UA, for example, or ISA 95, and which again we can get into other topics like UNS, for example, which actually again utilizes these open standards. These actually enable that plug and play ecosystems, and that kind of helps like again future proofs these investments as much as possible and accelerate the time to insight, I would say. And what you're trying to get is again insight. How quickly can you get the insight to make decisions, to speed those decision making based on data? Architectures again needs to be, and that's what we look for typically. Actually, is prioritizing this modularity and vendor agnostics integration from day one. So that's very crucial to make sure you have a successful digital transformation.
That makes sense. You already touched upon this a little bit when you talked about having a sense for what the other party is thinking about. But or empathy, when you use the word empathy, I really liked it. How can manufacturers overcome? But wanted to kind of double click on this. How can manufacturers overcome cultural and technical resistance, right, when shifting from legacy systems to hybrid or cloud enabled architectures?
Yeah, that's probably the toughest actually part of that transformation. I would definitely. But what I found out over time, and it just you start by aligning on why the shift matters to the business and the people running it. Okay, and identify. I would say it's important to identify these early adapters or champions. So if you have multiple sides, which side looking for transformation more than others? Okay, and that actually again will be your champion to show your case, the solutions you're trying to put in, and how those solutions actually help the business outcomes. Because it would work with you to make sure that transformation more successful, and you need that at the beginning to make sure that you have the buy-in from everyone. From a tech standpoint, though, it's like I would say also you need to look into hybrid deployment that basically integrates with, because you're always going to have the legacy systems that you have to deal with, and you have to have some way to start gradually and getting those legacy system, which is going to take longer, and then actually again also integrating that with the newer assets as well that you have. I cannot stress enough also again, as I mentioned before, identifying the quick wins and building trust to ease the transition, to make sure everybody will buy in. So this is a combination of strategy, but you have to work it through, and you have to consider all these elements to make sure that you have a successful digital transformation.
Yeah, no, quick wins. Yeah, all the way, absolutely. Uh, you again. I've another question. Exactly touching upon something that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago when you talked about IT, that IT can't just focus on infosec and OT can't just focus on operations. Uh, but factory floors are becoming more and more connected. What strategies do you recommend to balance cybersecurity and scalability in OT environments? How do you see that?
Again, thinking defense in depth. So it's not just one thing. I would say you need to start thinking of layered security across everything, across applications, endpoints, network. Um, I would say, actually, you start with the visibility of the assets, segment networks, um, enforce, again, I would say simple things like enforcing the OT specific access controls. And that's a big deal in the OT world. And whether it's actually access control within the site or on OT, you really have a reliance on vendor access to support, again, troubleshooting when issues happen. So all this, how are you going to manage access? Start with that again. That's crucial. I would say have a framework for security. that's part of that digital transformation strategy and the designs and the architecture. Security isn't an afterthought. It's definitely a design principle that must be considered from the beginning.
100%. Yeah, makes sense. Ehab, shifting gears a little bit, I think a lot about AI and generative AI and ML, and wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that as well. What real applications of generative AI or machine learning do you see becoming mainstream in smart factories over the next couple of years? Any thoughts on
So
that?
in general, again, generative AI, what all the applications we see is about actually augmenting human decision making now.
Mm.
And currently today, uh, especially again, I would see actually AI and machine learning is mostly where you see actually that's probably the most used case. You see it very much everywhere is the predictive maintenance use cases
Right.
and trying to predict assets failure before it happens. And what does this mean in terms of for manufacturer? It means again, not having to tie actually again your capex or actually again cash in having spare parts for everything that you really don't need. And at the same time, making sure you have the specific parts you need because you're expecting something to go down for that. So that will give you agility to make sure that you don't have downtime. You're not going to disrupt your operations. I would see actually again, like we see predictive quality, adaptive quality. So these are a use cases, especially with machine vision and computer vision. Uh, root cause analysis, actually, again, that's the big one right now. Actually, again, especially with GenAI and the ability to research documentations and find information, actually, again, from real time. But I would say actually that the ability today to connect real time data with static data that you have about the equipment, the assets, the product, is it's generating actually a lot of use cases. When I say root cause analysis is one of them, but also now, GenAI allow the line supervisor, or actually team lead, or somebody in operation to ask questions to existing knowledge base
Hmm.
and ask questions that actually requires that will have access to real-time data. It will let you know what alarm is running today, what alarm you have on the line, or anywhere on the site. And what can you do about it based on previous issues that happened, similar issues within actually again ticket systems that you have, your maintenance systems, or documentations you have about your assets, machines. uh, it monitors your process and it will prompt you again, you have a shift, you have actually variations going on, and what you need to do to avoid actually having an impact on the production. So we see actually significant uh, improvement in productivity and many use cases. And it's all about actually making it easier to access data and make decisions.
Hmm.
Uh, I would see also with the current geopolitical environment, I would see again, there will be an acceleration in digital transformation and automation specifically. Um, I'm expecting to see a push for automation more and the need for speed, basically, how to get things done faster and how do you automate faster. One thing I would say, again, combining GenAI and AI in general with humanoids, I would see this is coming into manufacturing. We don't see it yet today, but you probably know actually again, cobots came in to actually help and deploy quicker, actually again, implementation of robotics. But I do see humanoid actually will become even more important in the future
Hmm.
because it actually provides speed to automation than other robotics. Uh, so that's my expectations, but we'll see actually how this will play out.
Absolutely. That sounds really amazing. Uh, Ehab, you commented, you had this key phrase in there around augmented humans as this ML and Gen AI come in. Uh, how do you see the relationship between or evolving between human workers and these smart technologies, these ML and AI and humanoid technologies on the shop floor?
I think it's gonna be this is what's expected to happen. There isn't enough actually workers today, and imagine actually in the future having to produce more. The only way to do that is with automation, and conventional automation projects does take quite some time.
Mm.
So it was actually, again, we had cobots that come in to actually, again, help to speed up some of these processes, but it did have limitations as well. And I see, again, like whether, again, cobots or I would say humanoids, that's probably be the next steps, is I don't want to say replacing, but it's definitely augmenting, because there will be always actually certain processes or certain actually things that humanoids will not be the answer for everything. So humanoids will be able to actually again help where again repetitive tasks as well. But with Gen AI is going to actually improve even further. But humans will still be needed, and that interaction will be important. I do see again Gen AI helping to make that interaction between the humanoids and human actually more again more flexible and easier. So that would be transitioning, and there will be tremendous value from AI in that interaction between the human and humanoids.
That makes a ton of sense. No, I appreciate your insight and that holistic perspective. Uh, Ehab, what is the one thing that manufacturers just don't do enough of to be truly factory forward in 2025? That's my key question that I ask every guest that I get on this podcast.
I think it's again, I would say before focusing on implementing the tech, um, invest more and or invest enough in building the capability, building cross-functional capability
Mm.
internally. Uh, Digital transformation, digital maturity is not just about the tech.
Mm.
Making sure, again, upskilling teams internally, integrating functions, looking again what you have today, integrating functions. Look at the process, what needs to be improving before you get the tech in, and building that foundation that would help you to adapt quickly and be ready for the tech. And the foundation also on the tech side is important, but that internal skills or internal actually capability is very crucial. You need to empower your people and to lead transformation, not just support it.
That makes sense. Thank you so much, Ehab. It was a pleasure for me to having you. I learned so much. We've just been talking for 30 minutes, but I feel like we've been talking for a longer time, and because just the sheer density of ideas packed into this short conversation was 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 fantastic, and I'm sure our audience is going to love it. So thank you for taking the time, and I hope we can have you again in one of our future seasons as well, and keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zishan. Thank you, my pleasure.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Factory Forward. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to follow us on Spotify to stay updated with future episodes and share it with your network to keep the conversation going. Join us on social media using #FactoryForward and let us know your thoughts. We appreciate you being part of a community that's always striving to improve, innovate, and move forward. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and embracing new ideas. See you in the next episode of Factory Forward.